and D Tidwell. Endure MTB training. It's Mo time. Today, and a lot of times, it's about the hip hinge since we need to be good at it. So there's a few things. Why can't you, for example, have a good or proper hip hinge mechanism? And there are a couple reasons why. Probably most of you, it's because you sit all day long at a seated workstation. There's a new book coming out in April talking about sitting is the new smoking. And they're talking something in effect of for every hour that you sit, approximately losing about 2 hours of your overall life. That's kind of scary, and I look forward to reading the book to get more of the backstory behind that. But just to think about how you're sitting at work and your workstations for 8 hours on end, 42 minutes front and back driving to work, sitting while you're eating, for example, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All of those things have a negative influence on your body, your organs, and especially your ability to use your hip hinge pattern. The other thing is how is your pelvis oriented? Whether it's past injuries or us as mountain bikers, we have this staggered stance as we downhill, and we tend to favor one side. So does that create a pelvis where one side is anterior or the other side is posterior? Is it shifted laterally as it relates to a hip hike, right? Do you have a longer leg on one side than the other? So we have this skeletal arrangement that we think about as to how the skeletal system can affect your mobility of your hip joints. And then we have the dynamic stability or the muscular contribution. And then we have the nervous system or the motor programming segment. Does your motor programming allow you to go into a good hip hinge because there's not these restrictions like I just mentioned? So there's a lot of things that go into, can you hip hinge well? And can we fix them? Yes. And can we then apply some different exercise techniques to fix it so that you're stable and you can bring that to your bike? Yes. One thing you can do to screen is called the active single leg raise test from Functional Movement Systems. And you can try it by grabbing, say, oh gosh, it could be this guy here. You don't need that. You can do a 2x4. You can even just get a pair of socks that are folded into each other. But the whole test is about laying down on your back. Whatever object you choose has to be right behind your patella or your kneecap, so that when you lay back, your patellas are right on top of that board or those socks or whatever you're choosing to hold there. Now, we're going to be able to see the active dynamic range of one leg because we're going to move it, and the ability to hip extend of the other. So we're really looking, and I encourage you to look, is my pelvis moving during this test? Okay, so what I'm going to do is pull my toes in to my shins. I'm pushing both legs straight into the apparatus, so there's pressure here. And if I had a measuring device on my left leg that said 50 pounds of pressure going into that, you want to keep it at 50 when I do this active single leg raise on the right side, okay? So think about that at being 50 this whole test. So I'm going to relax, and all I'm going to do with a straight knee is come straight up as far as I can without the pressure coming undone, that 50 pounds, and without my pelvis going to this big change or posterior tilt. It's all about how I can straighten my leg while keeping the other one down. Active dynamic, passive extension is what we're screening in this. So it does have a hamstring, and it does have a glute, it has an IT band on this leg, and then on this leg, it could be a psoas restriction or a hip flexor restriction as to why you can't keep pressure into that piece of apparatus. So here's a fix, depending on how well you did on that. Do notice whether, if you can go this far with your right and all of a sudden you can go this far with your left, then you have a tighter or a bigger issue on that right side. Okay, so one of the fixes is to take a band, put it around a doorknob or something like this. Just take your good old band, make it a light or a medium band. From here, we're going to do that exact same move, but we're going to add stability into the equation with the band. Please make sure this is a decent band. Okay, so look at it. Make sure there's no fissures in it, because if this thing snaps, men, you know why it's going to hurt. Women, it's not going to feel as bad, but it's still going to hurt. So straight elbows and my hands are off the ground to create stability via my lats through my core. And I'm just going to do reps, 8 reps, making sure my pelvis doesn't move. Of straight leg, toes pulled in, okay? 8 reps on this side, and then we would do the same thing on the other side. 8 reps on this side. So I'm a little tight on my left. I would spend a little extra rep time on my left side. Okay, that is one fix. Now the other fix is to go grab a stick and essentially go into a half kneeling position. So 90-90. This is a hip flexed position. This is a hip extended position. So I can just take my stick here and I can just go right side turn, or I can go overhead and go right side turn. So what I'm doing is keeping my pelvis totally still. As you can notice, I'm not doing this, okay? Keeping totally still, and I'm turning my thorax or my torso, my rib cage to the right. You can also go left, okay? You can do both sides. Go to where your restriction is, keeping your head straight. So do that 8 times or so, 15 times, switch sides. Again, making sure everything's still. Okay, so try those 2 things, then come back over here and see how it affects your active single leg raise, kneecaps above your apparatus, toes pulled in, pressure in the left leg, and straight leg raise. And see if that changes it. My money's on the fact that it will, and that can help you have a better hip hinge so that we can get into an aggressive downhill, and you'll be a better squatter, lunger, bender, so bending, okay? And then have a better functionally dynamic pelvic base upon which to be a better mover, okay? And we all know better movers are better mountain bikers. So try that tip, check us out, EnduroMTBtraining.com, holler at info@EnduroMTBtraining.com. And if we can help you anyway, please let us. But hopefully that is a good mo for you. Please give us some comments because I'm curious to see how that helps you. Hey gang, you did well. Talk to you soon. Enduro MTB Training. Have a good week.